We're back, another episode of Encite Live. That's Sophie. I'm Adam. This is our office, our backdrop, the lights.
I thought you were going to say back and better than ever. And I was going to be like, yeah, we are.
We're always better than ever.
This is 100%.
We're better every single day.
Yeah, that's what we should.
So that's my goal.
I love that.
How are things going with you?
Pretty good. I can't complain, you know? I mean, it's nice outside. It's summer. It's almost my birthday. I'm having some stress about that. But other than that, great.
The quarter-life crisis?
Quarter-life crisis,
Is
exactly.
it 25?
It's 25.
All right. Sorry, I'm not supposed to ask that.
No, it's fine.
It's all good.
You know, I have to come to terms with it at some point. There feels like that's a shift, you know? Like now I have to be like more responsible than a real adult, and I don't know.
And you get a discount on your insurance, I think.
Oh, I do?
I think so.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe that's a perk. I think I can rent a car legally at 25.
Fair?
Or like get a hotel room or something. There's like one perk.
Perks.
It's like not as exciting as 21 or 16, obviously, but whatever. I'll take what I can get.
Take the milestone.
Yeah.
Once you get at my age, it's all downhill.
There's nothing to look forward to. Really. It's all a wash.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, well, speaking of things that you are now too old for.
Good segue.
Yeah. I want to talk about the Yeezy drop with Gap. First of all, what are your thoughts on Kanye? Let's dive into that.
I'm not a big Kanye fan.
Not a big Kanye fan?
No.
Personality or music or both?
I'm just not there's nothing wrong with his music. I don't,
okay.
I just, it's not
not for
music.
you.
It's not my music. Yeah. I just don't like it. Just because like, I still don't like, Engelbert Humperdinck either. Right.
Here's the thing. It's just you.
Just me.
Yeah, I go back and forth on the Kanye thing. I have like a Kanye vinyl. I have some Kanye art in my apartment. Like I like his music a lot. Sometimes I'm like, just stop talking though, you know?
It's hard.
Anyway, I feel like he's super viral in everything that he does, and this feels like it makes sense. I think the point is that he's trying to bring his high fashion streetwear brand into the mainstream. And I think we just looked this up. This is $200 at Gap, which is definitely a higher price point than anything at Gap, but also not a high price point compared to going on like the Yeezy, you know what I mean? Like buying anything else from the line.
Right.
But I don't know. It feels like a little bit too much of a stretch for the average consumer who is shopping at Gap, right? Like, I don't feel like the dad going on the weekends to like pick up like back to school stuff is going to be like, oh, actually, I'm going to make an impulse purchase with this.
Yeah, I'm going to show up at the PTA meeting in the new Yeezy jacket.
Yeah.
Probably not going to happen.
That's a look that I can't see you pulling off.
No.
Or frankly, a lot of other people. I don't know. It surprises me the choice to go with Gap as the retailer, I guess.
Yes.
But you know, I think 2 years ago-ish, they tried to do that rebrand, tried to be a little more trendy. Gap did. And I don't think that went over super well.
No.
So maybe this is a second attempt at that, you know? Maybe this is like a second rebirth of that goal that they clearly had.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I read about this. I read some of that article and saw that kind of the drop. And, I know that Kanye has that connection to Gap and has that in the past, but it seems like that they're potentially trying to reboot Gap now that we're kind of on the downside of the pandemic. And I know Gap was struggling even before the pandemic.
Right.
But fashion is so subjective, right? Like, and it's what's really, what really appeals to one person is totally crazy for another. And you touched on it, but there's some people out there that would really love that. They love Kanye. They love what his music. They love everything he does. They want to stand out. They want to be their own and unique kind of person. And then there's, middle-aged, dads like me it's not the target market. But I do see that there is your point of being like a disconnect for the retailer and where Yeezy is, but the strategy could be to kind of give it a kick in the pants a little bit. Yeah. And you never know what's going on behind the scenes in like some of these big organizations and what their strategies are and what their shifts may be, because, maybe they're a little bit stale for this target market. Now they're going to shift to this one. And does it include a rebrand? Does it include, we don't know.
Right.
But yeah, I feel there's a little disconnect between, Yeezy's audience and the Gap audience, but
I have seen that sort of like, as we've been talking about this, I've been thinking like, I feel like there is a trend of more niche fashion brands going to these sort of like major outlets, like a couple years ago, and I'm embarrassed to know, I know a lot about Lily Pulitzer because of like where I grew up, and like that was a very big thing. And like Lily Pulitzer and Target did a collab, and those are expensive dresses, you know, that a lot of like middle-aged Midwestern Southern women go crazy for.
Kind of like debutante kind of thing?
Yeah, okay. That Southern preppy culture.
Okay.
Yeah. And they came out with a line at Target and made it affordable, you know, and like that was a big thing. And I can see this being similar, you know. Yeah. So I guess it does make sense if you're trying to broaden. But who knows? I mean, maybe I'm going to see 10 of these walking down the street in a couple months.
Yeah, and that's the other thing with me is like some of these things they don't seem wearable. Like some of the high fashion stuff I just don't get, right? Like I don't see it out because the layman doesn't wear some of those things to the office, right? Like it's interesting. And I'm very interested in fashion and very interested in that, but I'm more conservative. But at the same time, you know, some of them some of the times I think that there's some shock value to it, and there's some strategy to garner PR
definitely
through it, and I think that's some of this kind of plays into that. But you know, again, it appeals to some people. Really love it. Think it's a good looking jacket. I mean, it's just not my style.
This office is a safe space, and if you do want to roll in wearing this one day, I won't say anything.
What if I'm all Yeezy? Like
I would almost prefer that. I think that would be an amazing brand shift for us.
But it would cost me a pretty penny.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe not worth it.
Well, you know what? Kanye's, you know, pretty smart guy from a marketing and a PR standpoint.
If it is a stunt, it's probably going to work.
Yeah, it does it for him. So
speaking of styles that we do like, let's dive into some Encite Creative.
Yeah, so we do Encite Creative this week. Is kind of an oldie but goodie, but one of the ones that we really liked and we thought turned out really well is we had a client called Just Sod. And Just Sod sells
Just Sod.
Pretty straightforward, right? So they needed to do a rebrand. They wanted a new visual identity. You know, our creative director, Jeff, put together a quick brief for them, started talking a little bit about the brand attributes, which is what we do every time when we start a project. But I wanted to show the creative part and where that ended up. Like I said, it was a little bit one of our oldies but goodies, but I think it was really, really powerful. Yeah. So Jeff, developed out some of this creative. We always start in a black and white piece, so we're looking at shape, we're looking at texture, we're looking at fonts, those kinds of things. And so we're not distracted by color. So kind of our linear process is to walk through a black and white exploration first. So in this particular case, sod, there's only specific kind of things that we kind of represent here, right? Grass and lawns and
taking a very literal approach.
Plants, nature, those kinds of things. Yeah. So these are the things that we kind of came up with. Some of them are very straightforward with outlines and of grass and trees and dirt and those kinds of things. But we explored a little bit of different kind of fonts and exploring that down to earth, that nature aspect. But once we do that, we jump into, we put it together with color. And see, this is the one I think they ended up with. Yeah. So where it's a little bit more abstract. It's a couple of blades of grass rather than, a lot. And then the two shapes here kind of represent lawns as well. But we kind of, this is where we kind of ended up. But I think the other important aspect of the creative is to kind of put that in context. And Jeff does a really great job when he puts them into these mood boards, which is kind of on these next slides that shows what the visual identity would look like on a t-shirt, on apparel, on, in this particular case, trucks, because they'll be out delivering sod. And then kind of what it looks like, reversed out in different colors and white. And so we kind of did a couple of different concepts of what that would look in context. And even Jeff, did some website development, some marketing material. And I think all of these things that we explored were really strong. And I thought it was really a kind of a fun project to do. And I know Just Sod is doing really well, especially in summertime.
Yeah, exactly. I really like this element of it, the seeing it in real life context. And I also think that that's incredibly helpful for our clients to sort of, because I think that a logo can seem very abstract and like, when am I going to see this? It's going to be on the website occasionally, but it's like, oh no, like on all of your merchandise and on all of your business cards, and here's how it would look like driving around the neighborhood. Like that's so much more physical and like easy to wrap your head around, I think, and really like fall in love with a brand, you know?
Yep. And I think that's super important, right? It's super important for us to see it in context and see it in real life. And we talk about this as trying to get somebody to kind of envision where it's going and get that vision of their business in their head in a real life situation, right? Like you can see like what the polos look like and what the employees would look like in hats, and what a potential website and your business card. So it's like it's much more powerful, and I think you make much better decisions based on that, right? And we want to make sure that it's on strategy, on brand, on audience, that kind of stuff.
Totally. Yeah, I just love the ones that are a little bit more, they allow you some fun with the concepts, and that's definitely one of them. Yeah,
so it's one of the ones we kept doing. I know that we had a couple of different things that we worked out for them, like this is kind of like a stationary piece, so they can see some of the business documents. You can see a potential marketing piece. You can see some promotional material if they were to put out, these binders to hand out, and then of course,
I mean, even like a press release we've got.
Yeah,
like,
it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then we had another one too, is like environmental kind of branding. What it would look like if you started to make like a little planter box.
Right.
And those were kind of giveaways and fun things to give away. So now you really just see it in.
And you're getting so industry specific with that too.
Right.
Which I think is important,
Yeah. So I think from a creative standpoint and a visual identity development, walking through our process from brand strategy, brand brief, quick brief, identifying those brand attributes, looking at some of your competitors, what they're doing and how we're differentiating from them. This took a kind of a cartoony, illustrative look in that kind of direction, but we did talk about some other ways to do that with photography. But at the same time, I think we really developed a brand that stood out, that was memorable, that cut through the clutter, that I think people can really say that's impactful to them. So it really worked out for them, and I think that was really a fun project for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I, like you were saying, that's a great example of like the whole process really coming together and have it being driven by strategy and landing on something that really works. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's sort of our main takeaway in everything really is, strategy.
That's exactly right.
All right. Well, thanks for checking in, guys. We'll be back next week with some more expert tips and insider info. And hopefully Adam will be wearing the new Yeezy drop. So
I may have the Yeezy jacket, but we may have some new guests.
Yes, we're going to try to bring in some guests, which is very exciting. I'd love to hear from some clients on their perspective of how our process works.
Yeah, but we're booking on Kanye.
Yeah. Well, we're waiting to hear back from his people. Right. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
But all right. Well, stay tuned, guys. Those are some perks if I've ever heard them. So we'll be back next week. Thanks for watching.
See you guys.